And good afternoon. Welcome into our post-game wrap-up of South Carolina, Tennessee, live here at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was not a good day for South Carolina. Don't let the 45-20 final score fool you. The Gamecocks were just blown out in the first half of this ball game. Maybe Tennessee let up some in the second half. Who wouldn't when you've got that kind of lead? The Gamecocks did play better on their own, but maybe some of that was because Tennessee sort of took the foot off the gas and allowed South Carolina to do a little bit more. But the Gamecocks made their fate in the first half of this one, in the first few minutes. About the time they got off the bus, to be quite honest with you, they were down 28-0 in a flash. And this fast-paced, up-tempo, snap it as quick as possible Tennessee offense is really catching on for Josh Heupel and giving them an immediate identity with this new coaching staff, something that South Carolina's not been able to do yet with its offense. And it was just domination from the outset for Tennessee, scoring touchdowns on their first four possessions, and they go up 28-0 at the end of the quarter. It really didn't have to be that bad because South Carolina, down 14-0, put together a nice drive playing some conventional football. They ran the ball with Kevin Harris. They lined up in the I formation. They put an offensive lineman in at fullback, and they knocked Tennessee off the line, and they ran the ball effectively down to the 1-yard line. They had it first and goal at the 1, still in this one, 14-0. And then inexplicably, Satterfield, the offensive coordinator, made a couple of very strange, controversial calls that I would say. As I tweeted out at the time, two of the dumbest calls I think you could ever make in that situation. You're driving the ball, you're running the ball effectively. You've got a guy in the backfield who scored 15 touchdowns for you last year. You need a yard. But on the first play, they put Dakereon Joyner in at quarterback to have him run the football. He always runs the football when he's in that wildcat quarterback position, and Tennessee stoned him. The next play, they put Jordan Birch back there, a play that they had worked on all week, according to Shane Beamer, and executed very well in practice. Didn't execute it well here. He's a left-handed thrower. He took the ball. He rolled left. He could have run if he wanted to, but he opted to throw it into the end zone. It was intercepted. That just seemed to kill the Gamecocks right then and there. It just seemed to take the steam out of them because Tennessee went zip, zip, zip down the field, and they were back in the end zone again. Then they scored again to go up 28-0. Then they scored again to go up 35-0. And the Gamecocks finally got on the board late in the first half on a Kevin Harris touchdown run, his first touchdown of the season, believe it or not. And that made it a 35-7 game. Tennessee kicked a field goal to make it 38-7 at halftime. And it was just total domination at that point, of course, by Tennessee. And then in the third quarter, after South Carolina had stopped Tennessee a couple of times, the Gamecocks weren't doing much. They lined up to punt, and Kai Kroger, the punter, threw a beautiful 44-yard pass to Peyton Mangrum for a touchdown on the fake punt. That turned out to be the Gamecocks' most successful, longest play of the game, that 44-yard pass off the fake punt. That made it 38-14. That gave the Gamecocks a little bit of life. Then they scored again early in the fourth quarter, a touchdown run by Harris of 1 yard, make it 38-20. Smartly, they went for two, didn't get it. Left it at 38-20 at that point. It's early in the fourth quarter. And you know what? The Gamecocks got to stop and got the ball back. But they faced a fourth and very long from their own 31-yard line, and they went for it. And Doty had to run, and he didn't come close to getting the first down. And Tennessee took over from there, and they knocked in a final touchdown to make it 45-20. Give you some numbers on the day. Doty was 19 of 31, 167. Harris had 16 carries, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bell and Joyner had 4 catches each. Defensively, Jalen Foster, another terrific game for the safety. 13 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. The Gamecocks had 6 sacks on the day and 7 tackles for loss. Tennessee had 472 total yards to 370 for the Gamecocks. 247 of that was on the ground. And talk about your big plays. UT had 15 explosive plays to the Gamecocks' 10. They just consistently threw the short pass and got big plays out of it. And then their quarterback, Hooker, was very, very good at reading the Gamecock defense, keeping it at the right time, turning upfield, making plays with his legs, or sucking the Gamecock defense up and throwing the ball over the top. The two kids from South Carolina had really good games. Hyatt, the receiver out of Dutch Fork, had a touchdown catch. And Evans, the running back from Hartsville, had over 100 yards before he had to leave with some kind of looked like a lower leg injury for him. But the two kids out of South Carolina that opted to come to Tennessee, of course, Evans went first to junior college. They had an impact on this game for Tennessee. So 3 straight losses now to Tennessee for South Carolina, a series that at one point it looked like the Gamecocks were starting to get a handle on during the Spurrier era. Now back to where it used to be with Tennessee pretty much dominating things. The Gamecocks have lost 9 straight SEC games going back to last year, and they are stuck on 99 all-time SEC wins, trying to get to 100. They're 3-3 overall at the halfway point, 0-3 in SEC play. And unlike the Kentucky loss, this is not one where you could say, gee, the Gamecocks, this is one that they could have had. Now, this was not one that they could have had the way they played. You don't fall behind 14-0 and then just outthink yourself, outsmart yourself. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest with you. Beamer said afterwards that he approved the call, that there is a mechanism that he can overturn a call that is made by Marcus Satterfield, and he liked the call. He thought it was a good call. So the coaching staff was on board. They have no one to blame but themselves. I mean, simple logic as an observer, you as a fan, we as the media, watching how they move down the field, you would think having first and goal from the 1 with a guy like Kevin Harris in the backfield and a fullback in front of him, maybe you load up in the backfield, 4 cracks at it, just plowing straight ahead, you could get a touchdown. But sometimes offensive coordinators and play callers, they outthink themselves and try to get too fancy with things. I don't know why you make such what appeared to be kind of an easy way to get a touchdown so difficult, but they did. And I'm telling you, it really took the starch out of the Gamecocks, and it was quickly after that 28-0, and there was really no coming back from that. So the Gamecocks return home for homecoming. Thank goodness for them. It's Vanderbilt as the opponent. So they don't mess around and play just awful football. They should get their first SEC win under Shane Beamer next week at home in the afternoon against Vanderbilt. But this was a forgettable afternoon here today at Neyland Stadium. A very disappointing performance, even though the spin's going to be that they played better in the second half. They didn't do that against Tennessee's best, I don't think. They didn't do that when Tennessee had their full attention. They didn't do that when Tennessee was fully motivated. When that was the case, they had no answers for Tennessee's offense and could practically do nothing with their offense except for that one drive when they, messed it up at the 1-yard line. So on the website, post-game wise, we've got comments from Shane Beamer and several of the players. And Beamer will have his conference call tomorrow night at 7:15. We'll have that covered for you. And then on Monday night on Sports Talk, I'll be joined by Smitty will have the night off because he didn't cover a game today. But Chris Bergen will be along, and we'll talk about this game and take your phone calls and hear what you have to say. A reminder, our coverage here in Knoxville and wherever we're covering football is brought to you by Touchstone Energy, the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl coming up December 11th in Myrtle Beach. It's going to be the best players in the state. There's no Shrine Bowl, so the best players in the state who want to play will be in that ball game, the annual North-South game, and make your plans to be in Myrtle Beach for that and also for the Skills Challenge on that Friday night with a bunch of the state's top juniors participating in that. Again, 45-20, Tennessee takes it to the Gamecocks here in Knoxville. That'll do it for our Sports Talk at the stadium, at Neyland Stadium at the University of Tennessee. Thanks for checking in with us. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you Monday night on Sports Talk.